I'm going to get you guys to slate your name, just for editing purposes, and what you guys are doing, and why we're here today.
Okay.
You guys ready?
Yeah. I'm Jim Fortier.
Dave Willis, and we make Squidbillies.
Now, I saw this last night. I didn't realize the show was that funny. I watched it, I probably watched it 1 a.m. I'm like, this is hilarious.
Perfect. That's right in its element.
Who would have known?
Perfect time.
How did you guys come up with this?
Our boss, Mike Lazo at Adult Swim, came in with a funny word, Squidbillies. He's like, make a show around it. So, us, Jim and I, and 4 other writers basically beat our heads in for a year, and then we finally figured out the right path, and we've been making it ever since. So,
Did he tell you anything that you couldn't do?
there was a lot of debate in the early days about what we wanted to do and what we didn't want to do with the characters. But I think in the end, Jim and I are from the same hometown, Conyers, Georgia. We went to school together, and we just sort of plowed a lot of our own experiences from growing up there and making the show in Atlanta. All that goes into this show.
You guys came up with some funny stuff. I mean,
Thanks.
I'm thinking of the parade, the marching down the parade, and
The Straight Pride Parade.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Well,
Because it fits.
This character, early Kyler, we sometimes think about him as an Archie Bunker type, where he's going to maybe have the unpopular or just blatantly wrong opinion, and he's going to go way too far to try to prove his point. So in that episode, we figured he's one of these what's next guys. If gay marriage is allowed, what's next? I'm going to marry a paint can. I'm going to marry a vacuum cleaner. And eventually he gets the support of a crazy right-wing religious chicken restaurant, and they want him to marry a bear to make the point so that they can get out in the press. And we just thought it was stupid that they would hold a straight pride parade. It just seems like all the things that people who just have the wrong opinion would want to do. And so, let's see it.
But we're from Atlanta. We live there. We make the show there. We grew up there, and there are things that happen there where we're just like, we sort of are talking about it, and we're thinking this is a funny idea for an episode. I mean, a year ago, Chick-fil-A said we are putting money against gay marriage, and so half of my Facebook friends would say, I'm protesting Chick-fil-A, but damn, their chicken is good. And the other half would be like, I'm going to eat twice as much chicken at Chick-fil-A because I agree with them.
Every meal will be a Chick-fil-A meal now.
So we talk about just the stupidity of it, and it ends up in a show. I mean, we live in a state where they just passed a law where you can pretty much bring a gun anywhere. So at the building we work at, they had to put decals up and send emails out and said, listen, I know the state of Georgia said you can bring a gun, but you're not allowed to bring a gun to your workplace at a television network. I mean, that's the type of thing that, like, it's like they might as well write the episode for us, you know? But that's the South, you know, and you don't really see it. I wouldn't say we accurately portray it by any stretch, but
I would.
Well, see, you would, but you're not from the South, you know? I think we love it, but we also recognize there's crazy stuff about it that no one, you know, everyone's going to do like sort of a barefooted Larry the Cable Guy or whatever, and I think it's denser, there's more to it than that, you know? So, but it's funny, too, and it's fun to point the finger at it.
Talk about how long it takes to put episodes together and voice and the voice thing, the casting for the voices.
Mm-hmm. Well, the casting for the voices, when we were doing the show, we were interested in, because we're from Atlanta, we grew up there, authentic accents. And when we did auditions for these characters for a ridiculous talking squid show, we literally have hundreds of auditions that we did. And you get people from LA, you get people from New York, you get people from different parts of the country doing a southern voice, and for the most part, it doesn't work.
Voiceover pros that are like, I'll give you 3 takes.
And yeah, and it's just always the over the top, you know. Well, I guess we're doing what y'all gonna do.
That's a good voice.
Actually, let's use that.
We should
That was
use
a
that.
good one.
Actually, let's use that. Scratch that. Take anyone can do a voice. No, so we worked really hard to find voices that work, because you know, I think we put a lot of emphasis on what the characters look like. It needs to be funny. We like that it's a little rough. It's not real clean lines and hard lines. A little dirty, a little messy. The backgrounds in the show are loose and sort of inspired by folk art, you know. And the voices just need to feel real. The sound effects in the show are never cartoony, you know, slide whistles or anything. It's just trying to base as much of the world, at least with the audio, in reality. Like the squids, when they move, the sounds are Foley of raw squid.
10 pounds of raw squid just slamming it up against the microphone.
So, you know, there's that. The casting was tough. I think we ended up with a really great cast, and we had one character leave. The original voice of the sheriff stopped working with us, and we stumbled on the best guy in the world for the role, actually, now, Bobby Ellerby. We were just talking about him the other day. He brings so much to the show. In terms of the process of making the show, Dave and I primarily write. We have a couple other writers that we like to use to bring first drafts in. That process can take a week or two to get a script we're happy with recording. We supervise everything all the way. So the voiceover reads, we'll throw in new lines, the actors will ad-lib stuff, improvise. Editors will get the piece, do an audio cut, and then they will also animate. They'll do the animatic for the show, just using Photoshops of the characters, and we'll work out all the timing and framings. That generally takes about 8 weeks. Kick the show out to the animation house. They get somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 weeks. So you're talking about 4 months right there. Usually around 6 months would be an average for how long it takes us to make one episode with a very small staff. You know, minimal animators, one compositor, I think, to put the art and the backgrounds together. The two of us with a few other people. We have pretty good support staff, 3 editors. It's a small group. You look at our credits compared to other credits. Not many people on the list.
I was looking. I was impressed by that.
But it's like you're keeping the plate spinning at all times. I mean, there's like at any given time, there's 7 or 8 episodes in various states of production. So it's not like you're focused like a laser beam on one show for 6 months. You know, you're just constantly like having to just inch every one of these up the hill, you know.
It's interesting. I hear Dick Cavett in your voice, and I can't remember who I hear in your voice. And I used to do
John Hamm
voice. No, no. But I hear Dick Cavett on this side.
Dick Cavett. He's from Nebraska.
Exactly.
Right. No Nebraska. Although it has taken a long time. My southern accent gets a little thicker around the holidays when I spend more time with relatives. My wife's from Louisiana, so I come back from there usually saying, "Oh boy, oh!"
Like, let's work together in a month, Dave. It's like, that's a good joke. Woo!
And relatives. What are relatives saying when they see this?
Well, they'd have to see it first to tell us that. I think that, you know, when my folks check in, they're just like, hey, are they still paying you to make that cartoon thing? Yeah. Kids all right? Eating? Have clothes? Yeah. All right. See you at Christmas.
Yeah, my mom still thinks I'm making Space Ghost.
Isn't that interesting when they don't know because it hasn't come, but they're like thinking in their mind like they're nuts out there in California. They're all left-wing people out there in California, falling off the face of the planet kind of thing.
Yeah. We're based in Atlanta, and our extended families live out there as well. You know, we work right out of at Cartoon Network in Atlanta. But yeah, I think it's the shows we make are for 18 to 49s, 18 to 35s, and mostly males dig the shows. But I mean, I like to think that everybody would enjoy them as long as they're good. But if my folks fall solidly out of that range, and so I think that's okay. That's okay. I don't need to have discussions with them about this.
People will find it. People find the show. We have lots of fans, but it's like if I'm at like a social event at my daughter's school or something, if someone asks me what I do, I'm just like, I work at Turner.
Yeah.
Like I don't ever. It takes 10 minutes to
formal
describe this thing.
If they mine hard enough, they can get to it. It's a 5-question process for us to find out. Not because we're not proud, but because then they say, we're going to make judgments, you know, because it's not for everybody.
What do you guys have coming up afterwards in your downtime? Not that you have downtime, but in general.
Well, that's part of the offshoot of just how busy it is with a small group making the show. We have staff members. The editors are on staff, and so we finish a season, and those guys will have a small break, and then we need to keep them employed. So it's time to write some more scripts. Dave also has 2 other projects at Cartoon he can tell you about, but I just try to keep the plates on Squids moving most of the time.
And I've got Aqua Teen Hunger Force is another show on Adult Swim, and that airs next year. And Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell, which is a live-action show that we're making more of, and that'll air sometime next year, whenever we finish them. So.
Talk about what you guys like about Adult Swim. Why do you guys like working?
I think it's really it's because the stakes, I think, are a little lower. You know, the budgets are small. I think the trade-off is you get an enormous amount of creative freedom, which is you cannot say enough about, honestly, from all of our friends who work in the entertainment industry and the experiences that they've had and just the difficulty and the levels of state. I mean, we basically, if you don't like the show, you can blame us directly because it's our fault that you don't like it, you know, and I mean, we get notes from standards and practices and legal, and that's just about it, which is amazing, and you just can't beat that. You can't beat it, you know.
And the stakes not being as high, you have time to develop an idea. You can do your pilot, and they'll order a few more episodes. They'll give you a first season. I mean, this I'm thinking of the new shows that are on. Gives you time to sort of figure out your idea. I mean, you have to figure it out to a certain degree, but all shows will evolve. And a lot of shows that you see on big networks get 3 episodes or 5 episodes, and if the numbers aren't there, that's it. That's all you get. Where some shows took a long, Seinfeld took a long time to hit. They moved it all around. You know, that's an example maybe is against the rule.
But the numbers are there. That's
Right.
the other thing.
That's right.
Like, is that
People give you a chance on Adult Swim.
Adult Swim does crazy. I mean, you know, I grew up with the paradigm of, you know, talk shows, late night talk shows. I don't know who watches late night talk shows, and there are people. I mean, I love Conan O'Brien. He's like the godfather of comedy, but like, I don't know who watches talk shows now. And who's going to watch TV in 5 years? You know how it's like changing, and we're the only people, Adult Swim here, making quarter-hour shows. Everyone's attention span has been cut in half in the past 5 years, you know? I genuinely think so. I mean, you go into any elevator anywhere, people are just looking at their hand, at the thing in their hand. And I think the Adult Swim is the only TV network that's really kind of actively addressing that and making shows that sort of make for how people are kind of evolving. That sounds crazy and pretentious, but I totally believe it.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.